Picture the biggest regular season crowd you've ever seen for a women's basketball game. Cell phone flashlights swirling, lines at the merch stands a dozen customers deep, TV trucks idling outside on streets jammed with scalpers. Now imagine that atmosphere repeating itself night after night, city after city, because one rookie has turned every WNBA stop into a traveling circus of excitement and curiosity. That rookie, of course, is Caitlin Clark. And this week, a towering figure from the league's past, three-time champion and two-time MVP Candace Parker, finally said what millions of fans have been thinking, but few insiders have dared voice out loud.
You know, it's so crazy to me because I'm asked so many times if I'm resentful in any type of way for where the WNBA is right now.
Her words cut through jealousy, culture war noise, and media spin to deliver a masterclass in perspective. Sitting across from Stephen A. Smith on national television, Parker was asked a question she's heard far too often. Are you resentful of how much attention Caitlin is getting? Parker didn't flinch. My job, she replied, was to leave the game better than I found it. In that single sentence, she painted a panorama of 28 years of WNBA history. From the days when legends like Cheryl Swoops and Lisa Leslie played in half-empty arenas to the present, where 15,000-seat venues sell out minutes after tickets drop.
Ultimately, it comes down to the fact that there were an abundance of women in the WNBA doing tremendous work on behalf of the WNBA and the game of basketball, and you just sense that folks were feeling an absence of appreciation.
Parker flipped the narrative from envy to stewardship. It wasn't about guarding a shrinking pie. It was about baking a much bigger one and handing it to the next baker in line. As she described cheering courtside for USC phenom Juju Watkins, Parker modeled the exact posture the league desperately needs. Embrace the future, don't fear it. Why is Parker so adamant that celebrating Clark's rise helps everyone?
Outside of LeBron and Steph, she is the most well-known basketball player currently playing in the United States.
Oh, yes. And I don't think that's close.
Start with the raw metrics. Last year, Clark's college games reached Nielsen ratings rarely achieved by men's regular season matchups. Her Iowa versus LSU rematch outdrew every NBA game played that week. When she landed in Indianapolis, preseason tune-ups suddenly drew 1.3 million viewers, numbers the WNBA normally needs the playoffs to sniff. Her professional debut averaged 2.7 million viewers, the league's best regular season rating in a quarter century, and peaked at 3.3 million on network television.
We just saw these numbers in the last 45 minutes or so from the WNBA game, peaking at 3.2 million viewers.
Ticket prices this season reflected the frenzy. Seats that once went for $40 on the secondary market rocketed past $400 whenever the fever hit the road. League office projections peg Clark's direct economic impact. Media rights bumps, gate receipts, merchandise, sponsorship uplifts, north of $1 billion this fiscal year. No other athlete in America, male or female, carries that gravitational pull right now. Parker understands what that means. In an entertainment economy built on attention, the WNBA has discovered an industrial-grade magnet. Yet for every headline celebrating sellouts, another bemoans bitterness. Clark has been booed in arenas she'd never stepped foot in before. Social feeds fixate on whether her supportive parents did or didn't stand quickly enough after hard fouls. An opening night officiating controversy spiraled into a league investigation that overshadowed record viewership. And while Commissioner Cathy Engelbert wrote a thoughtful essay in Harvard Business Review crediting years of strategic groundwork for the surge, her near omission of Clark's name read to many as willful minimization.
Cathy Engelbert, in this long, drawn-out article, goes on and gives herself credit for why the WNBA has finally entered some type of mainstream conversation.
These storms reveal a league still wrestling with how to handle a once-in-a-generation catalyst. Ignore her, and you squander momentum. Overhype her, and risk alienating veterans who have carried the torch for decades.
Can you speak to that collective frustration that some may have been feeling, and whether or not you think it's something that's being overcome as you all thrive and move forward and continue to promote and uplift this league?
The path forward isn't either or, it's both and. Spotlight the star who fills the tent and honor the acrobats who've kept the show alive. Candace Parker framed the tension through history's lens. Did Cheryl Miller envy the fact Parker had a domestic league to join in 2008? No, Parker said. Miller mentored her. Were Dr. J or Dominique Wilkins salty when Michael Jordan's shoe deals dwarfed theirs? Hardly. They recognized that his superstardom lifted franchise valuations, salary caps, and ultimately their own post-career opportunities. That's the cycle Parker urges her peers to embrace. Jealousy is human, she conceded, but legacy demands something higher. Pride that the foundation you poured now supports a skyscraper.
They just can't. They just can't not even wrap their head around. They can't just accept, okay, this person is more popular than me, or this person is more popular than the player that we want to push.
To Parker, applauding Clark isn't surrendering spotlight. It's lighting a runway for the next generation, the way Lisa Leslie once did for her. The scoreboard for veterans won't be measured in Twitter mentions, but in revenue sharing, charter flights, and healthcare benefits negotiated during the next collective bargaining session. Benefits underwritten in large part by the audiences Clark brings. Still, media oxygen keeps drifting from box scores to culture wars. Every heat map analysis of Clark's three-point range seems to trigger a trending thread on whether her popularity is really rooted in race.
You know, the loudest mics, like I stated, are the ones that's race baiting. Not even bringing up the names, but all the people that I'm seeing that are tied within the WNBA media, coaches, all type of things. They are very resentful of Caitlin Clark, and I don't know why. It doesn't make sense when you have somebody that's doing what she's doing for the WNBA.
Parker's antidote: get back inside the lines. She compared the WNBA's current moment to Kevin Durant's first return to Oklahoma City. Animosity, sure, but ultimately channeled through 48 minutes of must-see hoops, not acrid subtweets. Let's keep it about basketball, she implored. Journalism can still interrogate structural inequities. Fans can still debate officiating. But recasting a rookie's celebrity as a zero-sum referendum on identity politics helps no one, least of all the players whose careers depend on healthy ratings. The more time broadcasters spend litigating fan behavior, the less time they devote to explaining how Aaliyah Boston's footwork freed Clark for that dagger three, or why Nafisa Collier's weak side helped disrupted an entire quarter of Fever offense. Basketball analysis, Parker argued, is the rising tide that lifts every player's brand, including Clark's fiercest rivals. Stephen A. Smith offered the perfect historical parallel: Jordan Mania of the late 80s. Long before Chicago won a ring, NBC and Nike built global campaigns around a high-flying guard who finished second in MVP voting and first in Q scores. Traditionalists grumbled that proven champions like Magic and Bird deserved equal billing, but the league leaned into its new poster boy.
But then this dude named Michael Jordan came along. And Michael Jordan came along and he wasn't yet winning championships, but his popularity was so astronomical that the NBA practically marketed everything they could around this guy. So to know that there's an example like that as a shining example to be followed that could benefit the league, particularly down the road, why is that an issue when we've seen that such a marketing plan has worked in the past?
Ratings skyrocketed, TV rights exploded, and a decade later, minimum player salaries quintupled. Not everyone became a billionaire, but everyone's pay stub got fatter. The WNBA now stands on that same precipice. Market Clark, the way David Stern once marketed Jordan, and feature Aja Wilson the way NBC featured Bird and Magic. A multi-star ecosystem is not a contradiction, it's a blueprint. Parker's subtext: follow it or risk leaving generational money on the table. Growth isn't just about commercials, it's also about stewardship on the floor. Parker's most sobering observation came when she warned that the league is one serious Caitlin Clark injury away from stalling its momentum. Hard fouls are part of playoff basketball, but in June they send a different message: that the product can't protect its crown jewel. Improved officiating consistency, stricter flagrant foul protocols, and an unambiguous public stance from the commissioner's office are not favoritism, they're asset management. Corporate sponsors weighing 8-figure commitments watch how a league defends its star power. When video clips of unchecked elbows dominate social media, those sponsors hesitate, and fans who tuned in for artistry turn off when the show devolves into grudges. Protecting Clark is, in fact, protecting every player's earning potential. Skeptics argue the league is becoming Clark or bust, but early data suggests a more nuanced story. When Clark missed a matchup against Connecticut with an ankle sprain, national viewership on ION still topped 850,000, well above last year's network average.
The Indiana Fever's matchup on Friday versus the Sun drew 851,000 viewers, becoming the most viewed WNBA game on ION this season despite Caitlin Clark's absence.
Fever ticket prices dropped, yes, but they rebounded once she returned, indicating expandable rather than fickle demand. More tellingly, rookie phenom Angel Reese has seen her own social media following soar by piggybacking on the spotlight. Charter flight debates that once stalled in boardrooms are now front-page news precisely because new fans care. In other words, the Clark effect begins with one player but doesn't end there. It's already creating curiosity and storylines up and down the roster sheet. Parker closed her television appearance with a simple mandate. If you have a good product and your biggest hurdle is getting people to sample it, Caitlin Clark is a godsend. Sampling, however, must become retention. That means the league should capitalize on the influx by 1. Scheduling marquee doubleheaders that pair Clark's Fever with matchups featuring other superstars like Wilson, Collier, and Stewart, turning casual viewers into multi-team followers. 2. Funding a league-wide content hub where every franchise can produce Netflix-quality mini-docs, elevating personalities beyond box scores. 3. Standardizing community engagement tours, youth clinics, meet and greets, panel discussions, leveraging Clark's pull to spotlight local veterans and rookies alike. 4. Negotiating a CBA media revenue escalator so that surges triggered by Clark directly raise the salary cap and minimums, aligning every locker room's paycheck with her drawing power. None of these ideas diminish veterans' worth. They expand it, just as Jordan's magnetism eventually lifted role players into 7-figure tax brackets. The difference between a fleeting phenomenon and a generational shift is infrastructure. And infrastructure requires unified voices, starting with legends like Parker. Sports evolution is a relay, not a solo breakaway. Cheryl Miller handed the baton to Lisa Leslie, Leslie to Parker, Parker to Clark, and Clark will eventually pass it to someone we haven't heard of yet. Maybe Juju Watkins, maybe a 12-year-old today perfecting her step back in a driveway. Every exchange hinges on 2 actions: the outgoing runner maintaining speed, and the incoming runner extending trust. What derails relays is hesitation. Parker's message to the WNBA was essentially, run through the zone. Celebrate this handoff with urgency and grace. Quit glancing sideways at TV graphics pie charts. The clock is running. The next Olympics loom. New media rights bids are on the horizon, and the youngest generation of fans has already chosen its gateway star. The only question is whether the league embraces that reality and multiplies it, or resists it and watches momentum drift to whatever sport offers clearer storylines and cleaner debates. Candace Parker did not merely defend Caitlin Clark. She defended the idea that a league's maturity is measured by how confidently it welcomes the player who resets its ceiling. The WNBA finally stands where its founders dreamed it could. Front-page relevance, primetime slots, corporate boardrooms eager to invest. Squandering that because of envy, silence in the face of vitriol, or reluctance to recalibrate marketing priorities would be a disservice to every pioneer who played for shoestring per diems. Parker's blueprint is clear. Keep discussions focused on basketball excellence, shield the stars who draw new eyeballs, convert curiosity into sustained fandom, and share the spoils across generations. Follow it, and today's friction will read in history books as the necessary turbulence before liftoff. Ignore it, and the league risks confirming its harshest critics. The ball is in the WNBA's court, and thanks to Candace Parker's clarion call, the play to run could not be more obvious.